Did you watch the Tomorrow War? Over the 4th of July weekend, 2.41 million households watched this Chris Pratt blockbuster, and I bet there were at least 1 million arguments about it. The Tomorrow War has plot holes for days. Did you catch all of them? Plot hole number 1. Literally, the movie's entire plot is actually a plot hole, so this might make the universe collapse into itself, just like the screenwriters did with the grandfather paradox. First of all, why yeet middle-aged people into the future? So, the premise of Tomorrow War is that 30 years from now, aliens wipe us out. The future humans invent a time travel machine, jump in the present day, and ask for help.
We are fighting a war 30 years in the future.
Is this a joke?
But instead of that help being, hey, current humans, please spend a couple of decades researching the aliens and making better weapons, the future humans come up with this harebrained scheme. Send us untrained middle-aged people so we can use them as cannon fodder. Those future people could have asked for more weapons, for better soldiers, but no. They want 40-year-old dudes to come there for a week and die before they do anything useful.
70% of draftees do not return.
And that brings us to plot hole number 2. Also, the future humans say they want middle-aged people who will die soon because that way there's no chance of them meeting their future selves. This could make sense, I grant you that, but the future people also say that humanity is down to like 500,000 people. In 2020, we have 8 billion. That's 8,000 millions. So about 16,000 times more people. Then in 2050, there's 500,000. Now do the math. I did, and that is literally just 0.006% of all the humans alive today. Now you tell me, what are the odds of someone meeting their future self?
Oh, a seatbelt. Was it a driving test? No? You don't have jokes in the future?
Plot hole number 3. So, skipping over the whole flawed premise of jumping people into the future, let's see what Chris Pratt does to save the day. At the beginning, he's basically a Kyle with one job. Go here in the city we're currently bombing and grab 12 blue ampules. The future of humanity is at stake, Chris Pratt, so please grab 12 blue ampules and bring them to me. So what does Chris Pratt do? He goes there and watch. He's gonna do 3 dumb things in one simple gesture. He grabs 15 vials instead of ampules, so that might not be exactly what his mission was. The shelf is also full of blue containers, so he just reaches for whatever's closest. Then, despite having aliens shooting spikes out to get him, he takes the time to put them one by one in a cardboard box. Why not use the original packaging, bro? Plot hole number 4. What about the armbands they're wearing? As Chris Pratt/Dan gets told during his weird orientation tour, the people sent into the future have 1 week to fight, with a nifty little countdown timer on their armband. Once that counter gets to 0, they get automatically sent back into the past and their deployment is complete. Now my question is, if every soldier has an armband that can just send them back into the past in an instant, why don't those armbands send back those people hurt or in serious danger? Remember when Chris Pratt is sent for those ampules? The ones he didn't actually get, according to what we talked about earlier? Once he gets them, his entire team is up shit creek without a paddle, but with convenient radio communications.
There's a shit ton of spikes down there. Friendly's on the ground. Take cover.
Get out of there. Move now.
Why not ask the military to send his crew back to the past into safety? And the questions continue. Plot hole number 5. For that matter, instead of forcefully drafting millions of people to go die in the future war, why not give armbands to all 500,000 people left in the future? Send them back in the past, abandon that horrible future timeline, and have them all work on solutions to avoid the apocalypse that's coming 30 years later. And now, an even crazier idea. Just consider this for a moment. What if that's not necessary either? This movie says the aliens wake up in 2050, the humans start fighting in 2051, and they totally lose in 2052. So what if, instead of just using time travel to bring more cannon fodder into the future, they instead evacuate humanity into the past? That way they can send back all the knowledge they have the first time, then do it again and again. Basically, humanity could live, thrive, and evolve in an endless loop between 2022 and sometime before 2050. After all, the movie tries to establish that time travel in this world is non-deterministic. That means that the future, or information from the future, can change the past. That's shown when people who are supposed to die before 2050, Chris Pratt's character included, can instead jump into the future and totally avoid that death, and therefore delete their previous future. Even more, when people from the future showed up in the present, that should have instantly created a new and different future. Does that make sense to you? To be honest, I asked the same question to the screenwriters. Does that make sense? And if it doesn't, why not look at other movies who navigated time travel paradoxes like The Edge of Tomorrow, 12 Monkeys, and so on? Seriously, just a couple of clicks in my TiVo Stream 4K and I can bring up a list of movies where time travel makes sense. However, the Tomorrow War tries to avoid stuff like the grandfather paradox by simply not talking about time travel. Plot hole number 6. They try to wave off all problems, saying that time is a river, that it only flows forward. They say all their time travel tech basically consists of making two rafts, one in 2020 something and one in 2050 something, and then having time travelers simply jump from one raft to another. Makes sense, right? Yeah, you'd think so, but not really. Remember when Muri tells Dan her timeline is totally dead, and the only hope is for him to jump into his past with a toxin and prevent that future from being? You know, when she gives him humanity's last hope in a small glass vial, and he decides to jump after her in a sea of aliens clutching that vial? Rage-inducing as that might have been, that's not the only problem with this scene. You see, the movie tells you in the beginning that there's only one timeline. Then Muri totally contradicts that, and the movie expects you to just go along. Muri says there's two timelines. There's one where Dan abandons his family and humanity dies at the hands of aliens, and the one that Muri creates when she sends him back with the toxin to kill aliens before they ever take over. Plot hole number 7. And that brings me to the most painful plot hole of all. The whole movie is spent for nothing. Muri dies for nothing. Her dad wakes up and goes to war for nothing. Why? It's because the toxin wasn't needed. People kept talking about it, the plot was moved forward by it, but in the end it didn't do anything. This movie hits you over the head with a long, boring scene about this dude who knows everything about volcanoes. Chris Pratt conveniently has a friend with a Chekhov's gun, aka that alien tooth. His wife can figure out where the aliens came from in just 10 seconds of convenient dialogue, so that makes her smarter than all of humanity, both present and future. Literally, if anyone just took 5 or thought for a second, like where do the aliens come from? No one would even need to jump into the future, manufacture some toxin, and come back. They just figure out the alien lair and go drop nukes there. After all, Chris Pratt managed to kill the biggest alien female by mostly punching her repeatedly. I'ma stop you right there, Chris Pratt, but Will Smith had the best alien punch of all time. After all of this, there's not much point in me just picking apart this movie since it's held together by shoestrings and gum, but I just can't help myself. Enter plot hole number 8. How about that ending? It's literally tacked on with gum and held together with shoestring, since studio execs probably wanted a real happy ending and were content with throwing logic out the window. Why rush into killing the aliens with no backup and no support? They're shown manufacturing some toxin, so some time must have passed since Chris Pratt came back from the future, so why not wait for a bit and get more backup? I'll tell you why. It's because they wanted to push that global warming allegory right up your nose with the governments not being capable of uniting and all that. Well, bad news, this movie doesn't work as an allegory for global warming either, because there's another plot hole. Number 9. So humanity just came together as one and agreed to throw anybody of around 40 years old into the future to die. The US, Russia, China, Israel, leaders all sat down and for the first time ever were like, yes, we totally agree with each other. Let's kill our middle-aged citizens hoping the future looks better. Then, at the end of the movie, Chris Pratt has the weapon that can put an end to all that, and he can kill the aliens in the present, before they take over the world. So what does he do? After like one general doesn't listen to him, he decides that no one, not one world leader, not one country, not one mercenary team, not one weird online forum, literally no one will help him kill those aliens because it's just impossible to make people to get along, even though they just did. So he takes his dad and a couple of people to do the job himself. And despite establishing the fact that the female aliens are the ones you should go for, since they're a lot more rare and powerful, they decide to start stabbing the males first. To continue with the global warming thingy, this movie is basically saying you should start recycling plastic straws on your own, and you, just you alone, with a handful of recyclable plastic, can do what no government or corporation can. Yeah, anyway, I could do this all day, but I made my point. I'll go back to my TiVo Stream 4K since they added a lot of free movies this month, and let you do the talking now. So tell me, did you notice any big gaping plot holes in this summer blockbuster? Add yours in the comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of this. Catch you later.